Good morning. Today I want to talk about what do I eat? I get that question a lot. I get a lot of, oh, you're looking good. What are you doing? Or wow, you've lost some weight. What are you doing? When I tell them I'm doing keto, what do you eat? That's a very common question because even though this is not a new way of eating, it is a new name given to the way a lot of people have eaten for many, many, many thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Um, Basically, I eat meat, I eat fat. So let's go through some of the stuff I eat. This morning for breakfast, I took a couple slices of bacon, chopped up a pan, scrambled some eggs in it. No, I did not drain the fat and put fake fat in it. We'll get to the fats here pretty soon. And I put some cheese in it because I'm like a little rat. I love my cheese. Then, when eating it, I put a little guacamole on it. I ate about half because I got satisfied. I got done. So now before May, I would have ate the whole thing. I probably would have done 3 or 4 slices of bacon, a couple eggs, made some toast, and ate the whole stinking thing. And a couple hours later, been in the refrigerator looking for a snack. It really does suppress your appetite eating this way. And I'm finding out more about the hormones ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone, leptin is your fat hormone, and how getting those in line really do help with your hunger. I'm not going to go into detail on that yet because I'm still learning about it, but it is very interesting to learn about. Anyway, if I have lunch today, if I get hungry, I've got chili in the refrigerator. Who doesn't love chili in the fall time? It's not canned crap. We made it yesterday. Um, it's ground beef, some seasoning, onion, bell pepper, canned tomatoes, chili beans, and it's very yummy, very low carb. Now, yes, I know I can hear everyone say, but the beans have carbs, yes, and they've got protein, okay, and oh, the tomatoes, yes, and so if I was to stick to a carnivore diet, then this chili wouldn't necessarily fit. But for a low carb keto diet, it'll be great. Um, I might even melt some cheese into it because going back, meet the little rat. I love my cheese. Um, Tonight for dinner, I don't know what I'll have yet. We'll figure it out when dinner comes. That's kind of the cool thing about being by myself right now. Um, I can eat when I want. I don't have to worry about making a meal for somebody. If I'm not hungry, I don't cook. I do have some chicken thighs in the refrigerator, and I have some ribeye steaks in the refrigerator. I may fry chicken thigh in lard. Yes, yes, real lard, not Crisco. That crap is not fit for human consumption, but we'll go into that in a different video. Um, I'll fry chicken thigh in real lard, not roll it in flour, just salt and pepper, lay it skin side down. If you've not had chicken fried that way, you are missing some yummy eating. Easy, no sweat. Um, I may have some olives with it. I may not. Just depends on how hungry I am at the time. I may even fix a little bit of vegetables with butter. I don't know. I can't tell you right now at 10:30 how hungry I'll be this evening at around 6 or so. We'll see. I'll eat according to what my body wants. Um, the Pretty much the dimensions of what I eat. I don't record anything, as I've mentioned in the Kiss It video. I'm a little lazy that way. I don't count. I don't record. I don't measure. I don't. If I'm following a recipe to a T, I'll break out the measuring cups for the first time or two. I'm making it, and then after that, I tweak. It's my own. I don't measure. I don't weigh. I don't add, subtract, calculate So that makes it a little difficult when telling someone what I'm doing. Basically, what I tell them is I eat no grains, I eat no sugar, and I eat only the above ground non starchy vegetables, with the exception of occasionally I'll put some onion in what I'm cooking. I don't like raw onions, so I don't do that. That's not been a missed thing for me. So a little bit of onion for seasoning is not going to raise my blood sugar. But if I was to chomp on a whole onion like an apple, like I've seen some people do, that's not beneficial. That's not conducive to maintaining your blood sugars, because the onions do grow underground, especially vidalas are very sweet. That's why when you cook them, they caramelize. It's the sugar in them, so onions aren't necessarily the princess vegetable. They are an under the ground vegetable. I eat very, very few carrots. I never have a serving of carrots anymore. Every once in a while, if there's some in a soup that I ordered, I'm not a Nazi about it. I don't eat around the carrots and leave the carrots. I will go ahead and eat a little bit. I don't eat beets anymore. And I'll be honest, I love beets, especially pickled beets. I don't do those anymore. Um, so yesterday at Bible study, I was asked, so what do you eat? And I told him, I said, I eat anything I want. I just don't eat any carbs, any bread, grains. And the guy looked at me, he says, that's awful restrictive. And yeah, that's the first thought for someone who is a carb eating person, that's awful restrictive. But reality is you don't miss it. And I know it's hard to imagine that while you're eating that way, but honest, you don't miss it once your body stops wanting it. Once you start becoming a fat burner, you don't miss the potatoes. I don't. And I love my mashed potatoes. Ho ho. Um, Another thing that I don't do, or one thing that I want to comment about, is this isn't a free for all buffet. I guess if you want to just load up and eat all the meats in the world that you can find, go for it. Honestly, you're not going to be able to. You're going to get full. Um, Dr. Eric Westman, he says, and I believe him, calories do count. We don't count calories. We don't need to. Our bodies will let us know when we've had enough. I don't weigh and measure and count and calculate. I eat until I'm done. And your body will tell you when you're done. With me, when I've had enough to eat, I can't swallow another bite. It's crazy. I have actually emptied my mouth out into a napkin because I tried to get one more in because it was good on my tongue and it would not go down. Couldn't swallow it. You know, I don't I don't force myself to. I don't need to. I don't want to anymore. And that's what's amazing about it is the way your body changes. You know, yesterday there was a Bible study we had, bring snack foods, finger foods. You know, I made a cream cheese with olive rolled up in ham, and obviously it worked because I didn't bring any home. But there were also cookies and chips and pizzas and sandwiches, and yeah, there was a veggie tray. I had some cauliflower and a little broccoli and a few cucumbers off of it. I didn't have a lot of cucumbers. I had a few tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. I think two cherry tomatoes. I don't believe that's ever going to be a problem. Um, and I was fine. I was satisfied. There were, I didn't want anything else. And it's hard for people to imagine that. The people that will fill a plate up and eat it all and then munch as they walk by the table because they've triggered their ghrelin. And I'm not sure if I'm saying that hormone right, but their hunger hormone, their blood sugars increased, their insulin creeped up there to get the blood sugar or the sugars out of the blood, shoving that into their fats. And guess what? They're hungry. They were never satisfied. I was never satisfied until I went in this. That's how I ended up at the weight I did. I mean, I'm like I've said on another video, May 22nd of 2018, so just 5 months ago. And I remember it was May 22nd because when I stepped on the scales and looked down, I was 322 pounds. Yeah, I was in trouble. Um, so do you have to count your calories? Only if you like to count. Do you have to measure your food? Only if you like to. If you want to measure at the beginning just to get an idea of what you're eating, fine. Nobody says don't. Some people say do. I say do what you want. Um, my basic plate is the first thing I think about is fat. I add fat. A hamburger patty with butter on it. If you haven't mixed beef and butter together, you don't know love. Um, and then if I want something in addition, I might add a little vegetable, maybe. I have maybe about 3 cups of vegetables a week. I'm not anti vegetable. I just don't eat them. I don't want them. I don't crave them anymore like I used to. You know? Once in a while, like the other night, I was hungry for green beans. So for supper, I fixed a couple slices of bacon, buttered green beans. Perfect. I was fine. I had about a cup. That was good. Um, but if I'm not craving it, I don't eat it. I have the macros that they talk about, quote unquote macros for a ketogenic diet is you want at least 80%. Now, hang on to your hats. 80% of your calories from fat. Yeah. About 15% or so from protein. Only about 5 from carbs. That sounds outrageous, but it works. And your brain gets clear and your food cravings go away and you're satisfied and the food is delicious and you get to the point where people around you are eating cookies and cake and you don't want it because you're thinking, I feel better than I ever have. Now, here's the thing. If you do have that piece of cake, you're going to feel like crap. And then the next time you see that cake, you're not going to want it because you felt like crap the last time you ate it. It may sound restrictive, but I'm telling you, I've been on so many diets in my life. It is the least restrictive feeling diet there is. I don't feel deprived at all, in the least. Yeah. How can you feel deprived when you're putting a big old chunk of butter on your ribeye? There's no deprivation there. Um, Now, let's get into the fats. I'm very picky about my fat. I don't do any margarine. I eat real butter. I don't do vegetable oils. Contrary to popular belief, they have no vegetables in them. They are chemically processed from seeds, and it was at first introduced during the Industrial Revolution as machine oil. Why? Why is that okay in our bodies? Not only that, vegetable oils are high in omega 6 acids, fatty acids. Yeah, I understand you're supposed to have a balance between the two, but your good, healthy fats have the right amount of omega fat and omega 3. Your vegetable oils, no omega 3, all omega 6, which causes inflammation. I heard someone say one time, I tried the keto diet, but I hurt so bad. I tried it for a month or better, and I just hurt all over. I hurt so bad. Well, I didn't ask her at the time until I learned a little more. I would love to find out. So, when you increased your fats, what fats did you use? If she used canola oil on her salad, then that would make sense. I use olive oil, walnut oil, coconut oil. What you want to look for when choosing your oil is cold pressed oils. I use lard. Like I said before, frying my chicken in lard is just mm, yummy. I use real butter. I bought a some Kerrygold grass-fed butter. Oh my lands. I could eat it by the spoon. It was so good. But it's a little more expensive. So right now I'm still getting just your regular, just butter from when I go to Sam's. I use salted butter. Some people like to use unsalted butter. One of the things that takes me back to the salt. Now it takes me to the salt. Yes, I do eat salt. Sodium is something your body needs. What about swelling? I used to swell so bad that it was difficult to put my shoes on. I would cut salt out and not have any change in the swelling. But as soon as I cut the sugar out, all swelling would be gone. But for some reason, and I heard a whisper that maybe the sugar industry had something to do with this. I don't know. I am really not that much of a conspiracy theorist. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But for some reason, salt got vilified in our diet. Which, when you think about it, let's go back to Bible. Again, like I've said before, I'm not a preacher, but in the scripture, God calls us to be the salt of the earth. Have you ever heard the term? He's worth his weight in salt. You know, salt. There were wars fought over salt. Salt is not the villain in our health. We need salt. We must have it. Our bodies are composed of salt. It is a very vital nutrient. Sodium is important. And I just cringe every time I hear someone say, well, you got to cut out your sodium. No, salt your damn meat. Drink your bouillon. You need salt. If you're tired, increase your salt and see if that helps. If you have leg cramps, try some salt, see if that helps. The sugar is the villain. You know, God didn't talk about sugar in the Bible. The closest thing I saw in the Bible about the glory of any kind of sugar was Canaan, the land of milk and honey. And they were talking about the grapes. Outside of that, you know, when God called man to eat the sacrifice. He didn't say, he said, eat the cow, eat the fat, eat the meat, eat it. It's good for you. Go back to Cain and Abel. Cain gave grain to God, hacked him off. Abel gave his first animal. He was pleased. We are not, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the farmers out there who slaved to bring in the grains. They are not the health food that the USDA wants you to believe they are. They are not. Linda, come over here. They are, I mean, if you look back to the big plagues, the Black Plague that wiped out Europe, it's during a time when grains were the mainstay. People could get hung dead if they hunted meat on the king's land. They had to eat the grains. Their immune systems were wretched. Why don't we have the plague now? I don't know. We've got our other plagues. World War I, the flu epidemic that killed my great grandmother when my grandmother was 6 weeks old. During a time when food was being rationed, and if you ate meat, you felt like you were less an American because we had to send that off to our soldiers. Look at a recipe of war cake. My mother found it in a newspaper. It had dried fruit, high in sugar. It had sugar. It had a little bit of flour, molasses. I mean, it was loaded with sugars and dried fruits. And yeah, it kept the belly full. It kept the calories up so that the body could function. But was it functioning at its best when the soldiers brought back the flu epidemic? It killed so many people. Now the answer is, let's give you a shot for it. How about let's increase our immune system? Let's stop living off of grains that aren't very nutrient dense when you look at it. You know, again, scurvy. The British were called limeys because, well, they had scurvy until someone brought them limes, yada, 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 the whole history. But again, their meat consumption was extremely low, only for the very wealthy and the royalty. Everyone else had to live off of grains, potato, and if they didn't have them, they would starve to death. So yeah, it kept them from starving to death, but it didn't enable them to fight diseases. So in this day and age, where meat is plentiful, where our amount of food that we have is higher than any in history, why is diabetes through the roof? Why cancer through the roof? Why the mega money spent on medical treatments? When really, if we just eat the way our bodies want us to eat, we can fight those diseases in our own body without adding extra chemicals with side effects that we won't know for another 10 or 20 years. I'm sorry, I don't want to be some doctor's experiment. I don't want to be some pharmaceuticals company's experience to find out later, whoops, there's a side effect we didn't expect. I if you eat right. Hippocrates said, let thy medicine be thy food, and thy food thy medicine. The doctor of all doctors, the father of all doctors. So, what do I eat? I eat good fatty meat and a few vegetables. And I am so satisfied. And unless you try it, and unless you step out of the comfort zone and give it a try, you won't understand how wonderful this will make you feel. You're hanging on to your cravings, you're hanging on to your addictions, you're saying, but I don't think I could ever live without bread. You haven't tried. Oh, I don't know. Whole grains is so good for you. No, they're not really. Not really. What about fiber? What about it? You know, I have, I mean, let's talk poop. I have a whole lot better, whole lot easier movements than I ever did on a high carb, high grain diet. Yeah. I used to get so jammed up, I would be in tears. I would hurt. I'm sorry, this close to mealtime, I would bleed. Yeah, I don't now. I have no problems. I have none. You need the fat, you need the salt, and those two things are going to keep life smooth and moving. So, what about water? That's another thing. How much water you drink? I don't know. I don't measure it. If I get thirsty, I drink. I drink a lot of coffee, black coffee. Yeah. Sometimes I'll drink some water if I get thirsty, and that's just all that really sounds good. But I don't carry a water jug around with me everywhere I go. I don't measure number of ounces divided in half times my body weight, blah, 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 blah. They're finding out that that's really detrimental to health. You can get too much water. Um, I'm not for sure what caused that mentality to go around that you have to drink all this water, but Tim Noakes, Professor Tim Noakes, did a research on that and found out that, you know, we could be actually going to water toxicity. You don't need that much water. You don't have to carry a water jug around with you everywhere you go. My father was talking about it one time. He said, growing up on the farm and they're working out in the fields, they didn't carry a water jug with them. They had water on the back of the truck, and at lunchtime, they'd go get a drink. When he was in the Marines and marching, they had a canteen that had to last them 2 days. They'd have one on each hip, one per day. And if they were out marching or out in the field, that better last, because there was nowhere to get any more. And they weren't falling out dead from dehydration. Their performance was actually better than what the performance of people nowadays is. You can get too much water. Yeah. So it's basically just relax, get rid of the carbohydrates, eat your meat. Don't pat your bacon dry. Oh, for Pete's sakes, you're just patting the good stuff off of it. Salt your food and enjoy it. It's not bad. It's pretty darn good. And I love it. And I think you would too if you give it a shot. Anyway, I better go get some stuff done today. Have a beautiful day. Love you all. And we will talk to you later.